What's up, everybody? Today we have Josh. He's got 20 years of experience hunting back east. He is out here going to hunt out west this year for his first year. We're going to go through Josh's gear that he has that he's accumulated from his eastern hunting experience. We're going to take a look at it, see what he can use out west, and give him the top 4 items that he needs to get before this fall to make his hunt more enjoyable. And we're going to stay within his budget of $1,500. Let's start off with his kill kit. Right now I can see he does not have any game bags, and so that's going to be your number one priority, is getting some game bags, because more than likely you're going to have to pack out you're going to have to debone, quarter out your elk if you get one, and pack it back to your truck. So you're going to need good game bags to keep that meat solid and clean. You've got a couple of knives here. I generally carry one knife for that I just keep ready for when I'm in my kill kit for taking care of my game, and then I'll carry a second like pocket knife or something like that. You're probably gonna carry this in your pocket or in your bino harness or whatever you decide.
Okay.
And then one of these two, I would probably go with this one because it's a little bit more of a sharper point where you can skin, but you can also use this to debone or quarter out your animal. It's going to be a little bit better.
Okay. Is that because it's a straight blade on it versus?
Yeah, it's a more narrow, and the tip is not as round. So see how round this is?
Yeah.
So getting in between bones and stuff is going to be a little bit more tricky with this style of blade. However, this blade would be a lot better for skinning.
Okay.
So if you did want to pack both of them, you could. I would recommend packing this set and getting just like a cheap knife sharpener.
Yeah.
So that as you work through your animal, 1, it gives you a break so you can stand up, stretch back out. And then 2, just sharpen it, like give it a little touch up every now and again, and it'll keep you moving through your animal well. You just do the gutless quartering. You can do that with this blade and this one, or just this one if you wanted to.
Okay.
And a knife sharpener would be great. And then I would leave the rest of the stuff. Trekkie poles are always good. I love trekkie poles. A lot of times I'll keep either one or both of them in my pack while I'm hunting, and then pull them out for when it gets steep and nasty. This is a rain jacket, correct?
Yes.
Let's pop this out real quick, see what you got. So it is blue.
Not ideal for hunting.
Not ideal for hunting, but this one is very lightweight. I think you may end up shredding this in the brush in North Idaho.
Okay.
Although if you're hunting early in September, you may get lucky and not have too much rain to deal with. These super thin, they're great for packing.
Okay.
And I would still pack this just in case it does rain or you get stuck in a rainstorm. You could throw it on, hunker down, wait it out. Just because it's so thin, and the brush likes to eat everything alive in North Idaho, that I think you may want to consider getting a little bit more robust rain jacket.
Okay.
For Idaho specifically, for North Idaho. The next thing, we're going to talk about that. Definitely some toiletries. Dude wipes are awesome. A lightweight pair of gloves. I always bring gloves with me, usually lightweight, especially early, and then like later when it starts to get colder, then I'll beef up my gloves.
Yep.
But that would be just fine for now. As far as your clothes go, you've got just a gray sun shirt.
Yep.
Which is great. That will work. Gray is not my favorite color, but gray is fine. If you are going to get another sun shirt, I would go for more earth tones.
Okay.
Browns, tans, that sort of thing.
Brown, tan, green.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you want to, that would be fine, but this is also fine. And then you've got a couple of face masks, which face masks are person-to-person preference.
Okay.
Dan doesn't use a face mask. He paints his face I've done both. I've also just had a buff around my neck, and then I'll pop it up if I'm getting in close and want to cover up my face.
Okay.
But those will be fine. And then you have another, basically a sun shirt without a hood that's camo. Also works fine.
So I do have a question with it because I see a ton of stuff with manufacturers and companies. How important is it to change my pattern out here versus, so like I've got the mossy oak style pattern right now. How important is it for me to go to that highland, especially hunting?
That's would be a low priority.
Low prior. Okay.
Low priority.
Okay.
Yes, some of the patterns will be better for out west, but I wouldn't worry so much about that. I personally wear a lot of solid colors anyway.
Okay.
Solids in those earth tones is perfect. It's more about movement than your camo pattern, because it doesn't matter what camo pattern you have on. If they catch you moving,
Okay.
you're busted anyway, and they're going to be staring at you. Focus on movement, like figuring out, and you've hunted whitetail.
Yeah.
So you kind of have a good idea of what movement you can and can't get away with. Like by watching that animal, it's like, okay, their head's behind a tree. Now is my chance to move.
Okay.
Versus worrying about what specific camo pattern you have. I see a ton of people wearing mismatched camo patterns, and that's just fine. Or solids, just fine. Just err on the more earth tone colors if you can. These pants, these seem great. You like these?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, these are a great pant. Depending on how long you plan on being out, you may want to get a second pair of pants, because as the days go on, you're going to get them sweaty, sticky, nasty, dirty.
Yeah.
You may want to change out a pair of pants. What I don't see here is a puffy jacket. And that's one of the things that I always bring with me,
Okay.
because anytime you're going to hike up somewhere, get to either a glassing spot or North Idaho, you're just going to be hiking and bugling, but you may get something that answers you. Wind's not right, you need to sit down, hunker down, and wait. You're going to want something to throw on over top of everything to kind of keep you warm, keep you in the game,
Okay.
ready to go. So I would look at getting a puffy jacket. If you're doing September only, I would look at like the Tundra Light. Born Primitive's Tundra Light would be a great option, or anything similar to that.
So should I keep it on the lighter side?
The light is actually pretty dang warm, and then you're going to use all of your layers anyway, so it should hold you up. And I usually use the light until the end of September before I switch over to the heavy. The heavy is a lot more bulky and a little bit heavier, so I don't tend to use that until later in the season when it does get pretty cold.
Okay.
The other layer you would probably want is some sort of like insulating layer, like a grid fleece or something along
a base
those
layer
lines. Not a base layer, it would be a mid layer.
Okay.
So it would be like a fleecy layer. Like the grid fleece patterns are very popular with.
The one I have down here, would you recommend?
Let me.
That?
What do you have? Yes, that's perfect.
Okay.
So something like this, I would pack that with you as well. And this is a great color, like a kind of a greenish color. But yeah, this grid fleece, it allows air to get trapped in all those grids, and it keeps because what you're doing with layering is you're making little microclimates between the layers.
Yep.
And your body heats those up. And if you can keep those layers warm, that's going to keep you warm.
Okay.
And so the more layers, you're better off with more light layers than one heavy layer when it comes to like your layering system. And so then you'll have this layer, and then if you have all that stuff on and then throw your puffy over top of everything, it just holds all that heat in. All right, so this is your pack right now.
Yeah.
Your day pack.
This is definitely something I'm planning on upgrading this year.
I would definitely think about upgrading this. However, this would work for your day trips that you're planning on doing, because you're primarily planning on making a base camp at a vehicle and then doing day hunts from there, correct?
Yes.
So this would work. However, if you do get something, it's going to be very difficult to pack any meat out that first trip.
Yeah.
And then you would have to get like a frame pack or a different pack to go back in and get something. So if you can upgrade your pack, I definitely recommend that. That's going to be a pretty steep purchase if you want to get something that has a frame that you can haul meat on as well.
Okay.
But that would be one area I would definitely look at upgrading is your pack. Like I said, this was great for day hunts. It's just not going to haul meat, right?
What size of pack should I look at going with? Because probably for the next couple of years, I'm going to be planning on just doing day hunts. Not planning. I might end up spike camping if I'm having trouble, but
Right.
my go-to is just going to be going right from campsite and heading out.
If you're just going to be doing that, you can get away with like a 3,000 cubic inch pack. A lot of times I would recommend bumping up to like a 5,000 cubic inch. It's not that much more weight in the pack material, which is basically the only difference between a 3,000 and a 5,000. But a 5,000 you would be able to spike out for 1 or 2 nights with that volume, and then they usually compress down to the size that you need for a day hunt.
Okay.
So I primarily use the Initial Scent 5K, and it will get me everything from a day hunt all the way up to a couple of nights. So I would lean towards that, especially if you're thinking, well, maybe I will spike out 1 or 2 nights here and there potentially. The other thing is you're able to stuff that full of any of the gear that you want to carry with you. And then if you get a frame pack like that, then you can always pack out a quarter on your first trip out, which then gives you more, you'll have more energy in the long run because you're taking less trips, basically.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
For hydration right now, you just have this
And I've got
and one of those.
I've got an Elgin as well, but
So for day hunts, depending on how much water you run, and you kind of figure it out, but I would recommend at least 3 liters of water per day.
yep. Okay.
So right now you've got 1.5 and 24 ounces.
So far, turkey hunting, I've realized that in the morning, just my morning hunts, I've been going through a liter and a half.
Yeah, so you have that morning hunt. A lot of times when I leave the truck in the morning, I want to plan on being out all day and not coming back to the truck until nighttime.
Okay.
So you would want to have enough water with you for that full day. So I would do, if you like the hydration system, I would do like at least a 2 liter hydration pack and then a 1 liter Nalgene bottle, or you can even get the 40s. The other thing you could do is, because in North Idaho, you're always going to run into water at some point in your hunt.
Okay. That was
You could think about getting some sort of filtration system, whether that's like a Sawyer type one or a platypus that you can screw on and just squeeze through. There's just a ton of different filters that are pretty light.
Have you used or do you trust the water bottle filters?
Yeah, I've used the water bottle filters quite a bit. The drawback to a water filter or water bottle is you either only have what fits in that water bottle, or it's a lot harder to get it out of the water bottle into a different container. But I have used those in the past, and they do work really well.
And another question I had, like life straws or any emergency style, like would you recommend carrying something like that?
Yes,
Okay.
I would recommend carrying some sort of water filtration, whether that be a platypus or a Sawyer style or a filter pen. The drawback to a filter pen is that basically you're either putting dirty water into your Nalgene and then sucking out of that, or you're just sticking that directly into the water source and drinking. They're super lightweight, easy to pack. You don't have to worry about them, but they do have their drawbacks. I would lean more towards a like platypus style one over a life straw. I always bring some sort of a stocking cap like this. you get to a spot where you got to sit down for a little while, throwing a stocking cap on keeps your head warm and keeps it. It's just amazing how much warmer you feel when you put a stocking cap on, especially if you go with very short hair like you do. Then you have your hat you've got the little clips on it. That's a great place to keep your mouth reeds. You've got some cord, which I always put that in, and I usually have some cordage with my kill kit with my game bags, so that once I get my animal, I can tie them up on something to get them up off the ground, and they'll air out a lot better. They'll cool off a lot faster. And then you have a first aid kit, which is always good. I don't know what all is in here.
Just basically bandages and tweezers, I believe.
Okay. How much first aid experience do you have?
I have a decent amount from being in the Navy.
Okay. Something that a lot of people carry, but it's kind of up to you, is a tourniquet. There's been several times, and I know several people that have accidentally stabbed themselves with a knife while they're breaking down their animal.
Mm-hmm.
And having a tourniquet could be a good idea. If you have enough experience and you're comfortable doing a makeshift tourniquet, that's fine too. Commercially available tourniquets generally do a little bit better job, and then also are a lot easier to apply if you need it. And usually if you need it, you don't want to be dinking around trying to makeshift something.
So based off the first aid, since we're on that subject right now, I know Apple's especially, they have the satellite connection now. How important is it for me to get a SOS?
Like a beacon or like a inReach. So in my experience, I used to carry the inReach all the time, and I've gone completely away from it just with my phone. Recently, I've not had any issues. Initially, when they first came out with the satellite, there is sometimes, if you have like a bar of service, it won't switch over to the satellite, but then also you can't really get a text out either.
Okay.
So there's that little caveat that if you're comfortable with it, great. If not, the satellite one will always go off of satellites, where your phone could have some issues when you're in that little zone of where the cell signal is not enough to get a text out, but it's too much to switch over to satellite.
So if I'm hunting on that border, I should think about possibly having one.
Possibly. Okay. However, also with your cell phone, if you do dial 911, it will go to any available cell signal. So like if you have, say you have AT&T, and wherever you're at, the AT&T service is garbage, but the Verizon service is good, it will, if you dial 911, it will automatically switch over to a better signal on a different carrier, just because it's a 911 call. All right, now we have lights. So headlamps, this one is great. And then you also have these guys, which is just a big floodlight that also doubles as charging your phone.
Yes.
So that's kind of
I
cool.
get about one charge.
It's kind of up to you, however you want to do that. I tend to bring a battery bank specific just for charging my stuff, and then 2 headlamps, because one's gonna die at inopportune times, or you may drop it and lose one. So I carry a primary one, and then just like a little tiny extra one. But this would also work. Most of the time your phone will last all day. And then you have some snacks here. I end up using a 1-gallon Ziploc bag or some sort of a pouch for my day hunts. Everything I'm going to eat for that day in that bag, and have that in there. Like obviously this isn't going to be enough for a day. Yep. This would be a good morning hunt or whatever. When I'm elk hunting especially, I'm going to pack everything I need for the entire day. So I'm going to have a full day's worth of food, snacks, and whatnot in my bag for that.
So also on the binos. So I've got the binos and rangefinder.
Yep.
will that do for now, or should I?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
for what you're doing this year, this is perfect. So you've got the Diamondback Vortexes, which is great. Those because you're going to be hunting kind of more thick, brushy country, you don't necessarily need to have super good glass because most of the stuff you're going to be looking at is going to be 80 yards, or especially with elk, you can spot elk at a long ways with just these binoculars. So that's perfect. And then this rangefinder
It's the
is
14. I actually have the box right here.
Crossfire 1400, which is perfect. And that will do the horizontal corrective distances. So when you're shooting downhill and uphill, it corrects it for you. So if it says shoot it for 40, shoot it for 40, even though it's uphill or downhill. You're not long range hunting, so you're not going to be ranging things more than 700 yards anyway. So this is going to work just fine for now.
Okay.
But you probably are going to want to upgrade your harness system. I'm not sure what you got going on.
So it was just 2 leather straps right here originally. That broke, so I had to put the case on it when I was turkey hunting.
So you could just take these off and tether it to here, but I would recommend.
That's how it was originally with the leather straps.
Yeah, I would recommend an actual bino harness. They're a lot more comfortable and they kind of protect everything a little bit better. And then also you can get a rangefinder pouch, so you'll have your binos and your rangefinder right there all the time. Plus, they have most of the bino harnesses have a pouch for like windicator or whatever else you want to put in there. How are you at bushcraft and or survival techniques?
Pretty decent. It's been a few years. I
Okay.
grew up out in the country of Wisconsin and used to starting campfires, wood stove.
Okay.
My dad would send us out in the woods and we had to do certain things, certain tasks he did. So
that's the other thing I don't see is a fire starter of any sort, or I still carry a regular old compass.
okay.
I don't always carry maps, but having a compass, knowing what direction you're going is always a good idea. And then some sort of fire starter. If for some reason you did get stuck out in the woods, you get hurt, you're waiting for somebody to come help you, or you're just stuck out there overnight or whatever, for whatever reason, you get turned around, can't figure out how to get back to your truck, and it's dark out, and you're like, screw it, I'm just going to sit here and wait till the light. You're going to want to be able to build a fire. So those are some things, like just some emergency stuff that I would consider bringing, and yet like it can be as easy as a Bic lighter or a couple of Bic lighters and some fire starter off of Amazon. Just something to help you get a fire going, especially if it's rainy and wet and nasty. You get into a spot where you want to just hang out for the day and it's cold. You're more likely to hang out there if you've got a fire going than you're sitting there freezing your butt off and then being like, all right, I'm going back to the truck. I'll come back later type of a thing.
Yep.
You're more likely to stay out there. So, and it's just kind of a safety thing. I always have fire starter stuff. I always have a good first aid kit, a compass just in case your phone does die and you're out there and you just need to know what direction to start going. I think that's it for your day hunt stuff. Oh, the other thing I would maybe recommend is with the lightweight pants, sometimes in the mornings it's pretty chilly, getting just a simple base layer for your legs, and then you can, as it warms up during the day, you can strip those off. But a base layer with a lightweight pant will get you through most of September. We've gone through all of his gear. His top 4 items that he needs to upgrade before this fall is 1, backpack. 2, he needs to get a bino harness for his optics. 3, he needs a puffy jacket. And 4, some rain gear. Now he could pick one of these items and blow his entire budget on just that item, or he could go and get a couple of more budget friendly items for each of these. For a backpack, I really like the Initial Scent backpacks. They're on the more expensive side. You could also go with the Cafaro, or you could go to REI and get just a backpacking backpack that will work for what you're doing this year, and then save up to get a better backpack in the future. For a bino harness, I like the marsupial. However, there are some other budget options out there that you could choose instead. And then for a puffy jacket, you could go get something from Sitka, Kuyu, or Born Primitive. Born Primitive actually has a fairly budget-friendly option when it comes to a puffy, so I would recommend going that route. Or you could look in your closet and just find a generic puffy jacket, whether it's down or synthetic, from Columbia or any of the REI brands, and use that. Same with rain gear. You could go to Sitka and blow $1,500 on rain gear. My recommendation is for this year, just get a rain jacket, but make sure it's something that's a little bit more robust than what you currently have, and go with that. Born Primitive has a good option with their Mission Flex jackets. There's other options out there. You're just gonna have to do your research and put your money where you think is gonna be most appropriate for you.
Okay.
Till next time, thanks for watching, and I hope you have an awesome adventure.